Hey guys, welcome back to the kitchen. What's up, friars? That's such a dumb. Hey guys, what's up? It's been a second because last week I took kind of a bit of a breather. I can't remember if I said this, but I was sick, and I'm still kind of sick. I don't know. I'm in remission, I guess. Like my throat still kind of hurts, but it's not that bad. But the way that I got sick, and the reason why it was for so long, is because it was just like stress sickness, which I hadn't gotten before. I mean, I barely get sick. In years past, I got sick like once a year. It was always like sometime in November, usually like 3 weeks in. Not to give it a specific, date or anything like that. But yeah, this year, obviously, I've been sick 2 times now. Within the last couple months, it's ridiculous. But the reason why I think I had that, I could kind of tell that I was gonna be sick because a similar thing happened both times, and it was whenever I was working out, which is ironic because working out is like healthy and stuff, But no, that's both of the times. That's where I feel like I got sick, and it wasn't like it was the exact same exercise or anything like that. Last time it was chest, and this time it was leg day. But I'm pretty sure the reasoning behind it was pretty similar. I'm not 100% sure, but I think, and this is not 100%. It's because I was pushing myself too hard. I think what happened at the end of the day is I just had too much going on, and I tried to juggle it despite the fact that I just had too much going on, and I didn't want to make any compromises, so I just did it all. And it was actually kind of funny for the explicit day of, whenever I was working out, whenever I could tell that, oh hey, I'm getting sick from this. It was because as I was working out, I was tired. I was really tired. But I didn't I figured what I was doing is I was just being a bit of a coward, if you will. Not a coward. I was just being lazy. And I was finding excuses to not really push myself. And so, yeah, I just was like, all right, we'll just push ourselves harder. And so, yeah, in hindsight, not the best idea. Not a good idea at all, but it's what I did because I just thought that's what I had to do. I thought that is what should have done, and then what do you know? I got sick. So I was obviously wrong. But as the weeks went by, and I, dealt with this sickness, it wasn't just on one day. Can you set dispenser where the TP is so it doesn't get destroyed as often? Yeah. So anyway, sorry, I got lost track. I could kind of tell because as the days were going by, I started the week in a sleep deficit, and then I went to a party, and then I partied hard. I partied real hard, and I just went into it, and didn't stop. I just didn't stop. Any day of the week, can't stop, won't stop. That was me. And then Tuesday, I did the working out. Wednesday, I went to a friend get-together. It was D&D. It wasn't an actual friend get-together. The point being is that I didn't really have a time to fix that sleep deficit, so I was working on less energy, expending more energy. Sorry, more energy than I typically should. And I got sick because I was just pushing myself too hard. And that's what I want to talk about. It took me 10 minutes to get there, or 5 minutes, I guess. But that's, I think we push ourselves as not just a culture or anything like that, but as a species. You know, you need to push yourself. You need to go this step beyond. You know, break barriers, go plus ultra. You know, and it's valid. It is really important to push yourself. I don't want to make it sound like I'm hating on pushing yourself or on striving to be better, I guess. I don't know if they're necessarily interchangeable. I know you can make that claim because they tend to be are used interchangeably. But to push yourself, you know, is whenever you have something that you know how to do it, right? You have a set limiter, and then you keep going, right? Like, say you can run a mile, and then you run a mile and a half, and then you run it's hard. It's gonna be hard, right? But as time goes on, that mile and a half will get easier and easier until whenever you can eventually run 2 miles. Right? And then you run 2 miles, and that's that because you have to keep pushing yourself. You keep pushing yourself and keep pushing yourself. And eventually, running a mile and a half, light work. That stuff's easy, you know? I could do that in my sleep. Probably not. Running sucks. But you get what I'm saying. It's that hedonic treadmill where we kind of stabilize, but it's necessary. You need to push yourself. Whenever I was in psychology... oh crap, I did not realize that my exit got destroyed. Whenever I was in psychology, she said that the most important thing that, like, the reason why it's important for you to, like, basically go through a rebellious phase, you know, to be like, I don't like you, Mom, I don't like you, Dad, you guys suck. The reason why that's important is because whenever you do that, whenever you train yourself to be your own person and stuff like that, it will make it so that you can make the biggest decision of your life, which is to move out. Well, it's one of the biggest decisions. It's one of the most daunting things that you can do, right? Is to claim independence, is to be sustained for yourself, right? To push your boundaries and go into the unknown and the uncomfortable and take responsibility for your life. That is not comfortable, right? You have to push yourself to do it for most people. Whenever you don't have a rebellious phase. But even whenever you do have a rebellious phase, it's not like it's necessarily the easiest thing in the world. It's still really difficult for most people because it's scary. It's just scary. It's scary for both parties. It's not something that either party like goes into and is like, well, okay, sometimes parents suck and sometimes kids are real risk takers, so this isn't for everybody. Oh, frick. No, dang it. I'm an idiot. Nah, just straight up, that was really dumb. But, you know, sometimes you have to do dumb things to push yourself. That's kind of what pushing yourself is to just do dumb things. It's not necessarily something that you're going to be good at, especially not whenever you start. But pushing yourself enables you to be so much more than you are. It enables you to be the best you can be, right? And that is what is the importance of pushing yourself, right? It's not okay, I wonder if they're spies. It's not necessarily like to get that job or to get the promotion or whatever. It's to have something, to keep moving on, to keep moving forward. And it's important. It is important to push yourself. I know people that don't push themselves at all. They have what they're comfortable with, And that's all that they're comfortable with, and that's all that they do. And I'd say we all know people like that. It's just a part of being alive. We like what we're comfortable with, right? Obviously, everybody likes what they're comfortable with, but you need to exceed that, because you don't know, like, whenever you weren't always comfortable with what you're comfortable with now, right? Where, say that there's a person that you like, say you have a best friend now, there was a time where you didn't know them. There was a time where they were a stranger, and talking to them was probably uncomfortable, or getting into the position to talk to them was uncomfortable, and you had to push yourself to talk to them. You had to push yourself in that general area to initiate that conversation in the first place. And it's not the same for everything, and it's not the same for everybody. But still, it is important to push yourself. Because, like, I get why it's scary, right? I recently read a book called Who Moved My Cheese? It's a good book. It's a really short book. It's only like 20 minutes if you want to read the actually important part. But like, it's basically this short story, which didn't even really need to be a short story, but they made it a short story anyway, sandwiched in between people talking, right? And then they give this, oh man, that was so smart. That was, what a way, I'm going to use this in different application, whatever. Right, so it was just a setup and blah, 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 whatever. Whenever you're not analyzing that stuff. The book basically was a story on two rats and then two mice people. They're literally just small people, but they have to be quirky, and so they're like little mice people. Right. Well, I imagine that one book series where it was like really small people and they had mice tails. You know what I'm talking about? God, I haven't thought of that in forever. Point being, these two mice people were looking. They had to go through a maze to get a thing of cheese, right? They had to go through a maze to get any sort of food. And in the beginning, the rats, you know, they would get all like, they would race to the cheese. One is like could smell good and one could run good, and so the one that could smell good would like point the way, and the one that would run good would like run really fast, right? And the little people, what they would do is it was kind of just they would like logic it out because they have smart human brains with smart human things, I guess. And so what they did is, where did that guy go? Okay, then, whatever. And so what he ended up happening is they found the cheese at Cheese Station C, right? They found cheese, and they were so happy with it. But as time went on, they got more comfortable with it. They got more and more comfortable and more familiar, and eventually the little people like started to just walk there instead of run there, and they moved their house, and they invited people over to that to look at the cheese because it became like their cheese, you know. They felt entitled to this mound of cheese, and it is silly, but eventually, of course, the cheese ran out, which was something that the rats noticed because they were paying attention to the fact that the cheese pile was getting smaller, you know. It wasn't what it used to be. It was getting a little bit moldy. It was getting a little bit stale. But the little people didn't notice because they didn't want to notice. They didn't care. They were happy with how things were, and so they didn't really want things to change. Understandably so. Okay then. But eventually it did. One day they went to the Cheese Station C, and obviously the cheese wasn't there anymore. And one of the guys was like, "This is bullcrap. Where's our cheese at? We had people that were gonna be here for the cheese. Why is the cheese not here?" And so it's called He and Haw. Those were the two little people's names. And I think he was like, hey, we should go and like look for more cheese. And the other guy's like, no, this is where the cheese is at. This is where I'm at. This is where the cheese is at. I don't want any other kind of cheese at any other location. And the other guy was like, yeah, you're right. And basically, to summarize, because I'm kind of just giving the entire story, eventually it got to a point where one of the little people left. He was like, I can't be holed up here forever. I'm getting weaker. I'm getting more hungry. I need to move, you know. And whenever he does, he realizes how easy it was to move. There's a really good line called, I wonder what I would have done if I didn't fear anything. And that is kind of the crux of why people don't push themselves, right? Is because they fear what lies beyond the horizon. They fear what they don't know and what they don't see. And whenever you push yourself, it's explicitly to find what you can't see, right? It's to strain yourself, to discover new things about yourself and the world, right? That is what pushing yourself is. It's taking advantage of every aspect of life and really appreciating it. I think that's what pushing yourself is. I think that is one of the core ideas of being alive, of being human at the very least, is to constantly try and get the next thing or more. And of course there's, problems with that. But generally, to hold yourself up and to never change and to never push yourself, I think it's a sense of death. I think I said this in that one Evangelion video, but I think it is. I think it's ridiculous to just not like permit yourself to be more than who you were yesterday. Why should the past be entitled to more than the future is? That was dumb on my part. Why? I think that's ridiculous. But, you know, it's a problem that a lot of people struggle with, and it makes sense, right? Because yeah, we don't like things to change. I know many people that I'm good friends with that are okay with some changes, but they're not okay with others, right? And it is interesting because there are certainly things that should be okay sometimes and shouldn't be okay other times. Some things that should be permitted to change and some things that shouldn't. But still, finding that line versus just ignoring that it exists, I think it's important. I think it's important to think about what, how to push yourself, what you should push, and how to do it more properly, how to effectively push yourself, and how to think of others whenever you push yourself, right? To put thought into your push instead of just having it be something that happens whenever it has to happen, right? I think it's important. But not everybody does. There's a lot of people that just hate change, and they hate to push themselves, and they're too tired to do anything else. And it makes sense. I mean, like, I might become this crotchety old man that doesn't care about anything, you know, and it just wants it to be how it was in the good old days, and, you know, yada 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 yada. But right now, I can say that, nah, it is important to push yourself. But it's also difficult to push yourself. And not just difficult in the way that it's hard. It's difficult in the way that you have to put thought into it. Because after all, what I said earlier, I got sick, guys. I got sick because I pushed myself, you know? And it happens, right? Stress, sickness, and stuff like that. No one's immune to sickness. Not entirely. Not only of the body, but of the mind, the soul, and the heart. People get sick, right? That's just a fact of life, right? And whenever you push yourself, you better, like, you leave yourself open to sickness. Whenever you push yourself too hard, whenever you don't see that moderation, whenever you don't learn what is a good amount to push yourself, you get sick. It hurts you. It does. I think as a culture, generally, we think about it one way or another, where it's like either we're going to be completely stuck in the past, either I'm not going to push myself at all, or we're going to go full steam ahead. No concern for anything that I used to be. It only matters what I am now, right? And that is also really, really detrimental. Because after all, if we changed so entirely, we wouldn't exist anymore, right? You get into the thing of like, who am I really? And the ship of Theseus, right? Where whenever everything changes, is it really the same ship? You guys know what the ship... I guess I should explain what the ship of Theseus is. The ship of Theseus is basically this thought experiment where it's like, if you have a ship, Theseus had a ship, and as time went on, some of the boards started to give out. And as the boards gave out, he would replace them, right? Until eventually, he did that for long enough, whenever a board gave out, he would just put it to the side and then replace the board. And eventually, he did that enough where every single board that he had was a new board. And at that point, if he took all of the original boards, he could make a ship. So at that point, which one is the ship of Theseus, right? Yeah, aren't they both technically the ship of Theseus? Yes, kind of. But also kind of not, obviously. Intentionally, it's a thought experiment that's left open-ended, right? It doesn't really have a clear-cut answer, and neither does pushing yourself. You can't just push yourself into the ground. Progress for the sake of progress is not a good thing. I don't think it is a good thing. Change, to say that you changed, it's destructive. What? Okay. It's destructive, right? You have so many different things that try to change with the times, but instead of, okay then, what was that? Instead of changing with the times, they're just changing. They don't know how to change particularly, so they're just trying to change and hoping that they're betting on the right thing to change on. And it kills them, right? Because, of course it does. Not everybody can be right every single second of the day, even if it's a company. Companies are frequently wrong, but they just have enough money to pretend like they aren't. Pushing yourself can push yourself into the ground, right? It can push you into an early grave. People that care too much about, their finances or retirement. I always think that it's so ridiculous for us to be, instead of appreciating the life that we have, for everybody to glorify the end of it, right? The thing that people look forward to the most at their job is leaving their job. And that's so crazy to me, right? Because that's where you're spending most of your time. You're not spending most of your time in retirement, right? Those are your fall years, your winter years, whatever. That's not like the quote unquote peak time to be alive. That's not the time. Those aren't the good old days. Those are the old days. And so why are you spending your good old days thinking of your old days? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It's important to make boundaries. I think everybody's aware of that. To not push yourself into a grave, right? And I don't necessarily know how to do it. Obviously, I'm sick right now. But I can tell you, the best way to find out is to push yourself. Literally, the best way is to mess up, is to realize that you went too far. You got a little bit too crazy. You got a little bit too goated with the sauce. And now you know where that boundary is. It's like working out, right? Whenever you're working out, you need to reach like hyperset or something like that. Maximum overset, something like that, where basically it's the lactic acid in your muscles start to break down or build up. One of the two, doesn't matter. Point being, that's where you feel the burn, right? And whenever you feel the burn, you basically, that's your muscles breaking down. For those who do not know, that's your muscles breaking down. It's your muscles tearing apart and then building back together stronger, right? But obviously, if you, like, if you try to pick up a car, you know, you're not gonna get stronger. You're just gonna break your arm or your legs or whatever, because your body can't handle that much. You're not that goated. You're not that crazy with it. You're not a mom that has a baby. You know, that's what the Hulk was based off of. Stan Lee was like, yeah, basically I thought of a mom that's like dealing with her paternal oh frick. No. That was, wow, holy crap. Anyway, you can tell it's live commentary. But yeah, I don't know why I was talking about moms, but the point being that you need to set that boundary. You know, you need to realize, don't try to pick up a car, obviously, but you know, it's good to like be like, okay, I can pick up 100 pounds. Okay. Let's try to pick up 110. Let's try to pick up 100, or if it was really easy, let's pick up 150. And then if that was also really easy, try to pick up 200. Just get to that point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. And then you'll be sore. And heck, you might even get sick. You know, whenever you're trying to figure out your boundaries, whenever you're really trying to experiment, which is what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out like what is going on. I'm trying to figure out a good schedule and stuff like that. And that's one of the reasons why I got sick. I'm trying to figure out a schedule, and it didn't work. I got sick. I put too much first, and I didn't really give me enough time. I kind of just put everything on the plate, forgot about dessert, and then tried to eat it anyway. And then afterwards, whenever I was stuffed to the brim, I was confused as why I had a stomachache. I don't know if that made any sense or if I just want to frick off. That was just a tangent. But point being, it's important to make boundaries. You need to set those things to realize what you need to push, because those boundaries help you realize how to push better, how to push further and harder, right? Because, for instance, working out is a really good example of this. Say you don't remember how many you can do, like you can lift like 40 pounds, right? You can lift 40 pounds easy, no problem. You can lift 40 pounds 10 times easy, no problem, and then it kind of like slows down, right? Then your muscle gives out and whatever, right? Next week, if you didn't keep track of how many times, like you didn't remember. Well, I just lifted my arm until I got tired. Okay. The next week, how are you supposed to do better? How do you know if you are getting better? How do you know if you can push yourself properly? You know, how can you realize that there is like, this is more, you know, this is an improvement, you know? How do you get that, like, that moment where it's like, oh, I'm so close to the next thing. I'm so close there. You don't know if you do not measure it. If you do not realize and rationalize what is going on, then you're just selling yourself short. So boundaries not only help your mentality as far as giving you breathing space, it also helps you push yourself to be better more effectively. Hey, that was just a faster way to get back to the respawn cabinet. I don't know what you're talking about. But one thing overall is the most important. You have to be honest with yourself. Honesty is difficult. It's not necessarily something that, most people. It feels like it's getting rarer and rarer. And to be fair, it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks to be honest with people sometimes. It's not fun all the time. It really isn't. And frequently, honestly, it feels like a straight up downgrade. It feels like a debuff. But to push yourself, you need to be honest. To push others, to set boundaries, you need to have a clear, honest understanding of who you are and who those around you are. For me, I didn't. I didn't know how far I could go. I lied to myself and thought that this, I need to go further. This isn't my boundary. I'm just being an idiot. I lied to myself and tried to excuse blindly pushing myself. And it made me get sick, right? And now I won't be able to make some videos that I wanted to get done. I wasn't able to as effectively push myself because I got sick. Because I didn't, because I wasn't of a proper mental health and body. Because of that fact, I wasn't able to push myself properly. I wasn't able to do something that actually mattered and would make me feel better about myself. I couldn't because I was sick. I wanted to get... No! Whatever. I wanted to have some videos done by the end of this week. And they simply didn't get done. And that sucks. But I wanted too much, I wanted this and I wanted that, and I thought if I could do this and that and this and that. And I didn't really completely realize that, hey, it's still summer, there's still a lot of stuff going on, just because it's not, out right in front of you and planned right now doesn't mean that you don't... Wow, that was really lucky. Doesn't mean that you don't have stuff going on. I was stupid. I was silly for that. But I wasn't honest with myself. I didn't give myself an honest look of the way that the month was going to go. And that is why I got sick. That's why I pushed myself too hard. That's why I went and ended up not getting done with the video at all. Instead of just, or not at all, but it's not getting done this month. Right? So you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with your capabilities. Because using working out as an example, right? Say you just lie to yourself and say, oh yeah, I did it. I got that rep. I hit that max rep, whatever the frick. I did it, right? Then the next week, or whenever somebody else is watching you and is like, all right, you said you could do this, let's see it. Yo, whatever. You won't be able to. You're not going to be able to follow through to others or yourself because you're not honest with yourself. And sometimes people mistake honesty with cruelty and use oh, I'm just being honest with myself as a way to just tear themselves down, and that's not what I mean. Honesty is a skill. To be completely clear-cut and truthful with yourself and not have a bias, at least, and not a lot of a bias. To understand where your biases lie and how to shape yourself around them. And how to kind of negate them. When to be honest with yourself, and when it's okay to just let you have one. You know, it's not the end of the day. It's not the end of the world if you lie to yourself about you being the prettiest looking princess in the world. I mean, you are, because I'm the prettiest looking princess in the world, but you know what I'm saying. If you need that boost, tell yourself that. It doesn't have to be true to feel true. Trust me. With the political thing going on right now, that should be very apparent. We tend to go off of what feels true instead of what is true. But it's really important to go off of what is true. What has substance. And whenever you find what has substance, you're able to push yourself with it. You have to have substance to push, right? It wouldn't make sense for you to just have nothing. All right. That was pretty good. I think I was talking for like the entirety of it. It's because I have a strep throat. And so I had to push myself to make a great video, because if I'm sick, that's just because I'm weak or whatever. Let's see what I got. Alright. Not the end of the world. But I'll see you guys next week. Try not to push yourself too hard.